Welcome to Word Up Rock and Roll Stories with Mike B. In-depth conversations with the world's best singers and musicians. Sponsored by the Waterloo Music Bar, Blackpool. Small venue, massive attitude.
Welcome to episode 5 of Word Up Rock and Roll Stories. I'm Mike, your host, and in this episode we have a double header of two influential musicians. First up, I have a chat with Glen Matlock, the original bass player with the Sex Pistols, who co-wrote 8 of the 10 songs on their debut album, Nevermind the Bollocks, one of the most seminal and iconic albums in history. After leaving the band, Glen formed the Rich Kids with Steve New, Rusty Egan and Midgewer. Glen is now a solo artist whose latest album, Good to Go, was released in 2018. Glen's recent UK tour featured on lead guitar my second guest on this episode, Earl Slick. Earl has been a sideman for many artists since the early 70s, but most notably he replaced Mick Ronson as David Bowie's guitarist for the albums Young Americans and Station to Station. In all, Earl played on 7 Bowie albums, as well as playing in John Lennon's final band before his death and appearing on the albums Double Fantasy and Milk and Honey. I caught up with Glen and Earl at the Rebellion Bar in Manchester after their long and arduous drive from Norwich in Friday afternoon traffic, hence the little amount of time I had with them. Thank you to both Glen and Earl though for the time they gave me, and hopefully we can record part 2 when the traffic isn't as bad. Glen, thank you so much for agreeing to talk to me today for the podcast.
Thanks, all right, Mike. Pleasure. Thanks, just for bearing with us. It's been a bit of a long day.
It was a long drive from Norwich, yeah. We're here in Manchester, which was the city that first brought you out of London for your first gig. It was your first TV show?
Our first TV show. I don't know if it's the first time we played out of London, but it was pretty close.
Was it not? I thought the first time at Lesser Free Trade Hall was the first gig.
Well, I think we'd been to St Albans or somewhere.
Right, okay. So not too far out of London.
Yeah, we got out.
So does Manchester have fond memories for you?
Yeah, for obvious reasons, you know.
Yeah.
So,
can you remember much about it? It was on So It Goes, wasn't it?
I remember Tommy Duck, going to Tommy Duck's. Remember that pub?
No, not at all.
It was a pub in the middle of town somewhere, and it had all ladies' knickers and toilet bowls stuck to the ceiling.
Yeah.
Our roadie, Dave Goodman, introduced us to the charms of it. It was round the corner from the Lesser Free Trade Hall.
Yeah. And, I don't think it's there any longer. Tommy Duck.
I'm going to Google that. Out of Coronation Street. Yeah, I thought it was quite famous at the time.
It probably was, but I'm a little bit younger than you. So
go on, rub it in, why don't you?
Right, is it alright if we go right back to the start?
There we go.
You were born in Paddington.
Yeah.
Is that where you grew up as well?
That's where I still live.
That's where you still live in Paddington?
Not in the same house.
Yeah?
Yeah, I used to live up there's a place called the Arrow Road that's kind of got a certain kind of folklore about it. I don't know, well, Mick Jones wrote a song called Arrow Road.
Yeah.
And I wish I had, because I actually come from the Arrow Road and he don't.
Right.
But he's lived on it a long while. So, yeah, it's top of the Labatt Grove area, Paddington.
Yeah.
They filmed a lot of that movie, The Blue Lamp, you know, that was all filmed around there, where Dixon and Doc Green stemmed from. And I live right round the corner from the bridge that he runs over.
I actually do remember the old black and white footage of Dixon Dock Green and Blue Lamp,
Yeah, well, that's my manor.
Excellent. Was it a musical household that you grew up in?
My nan, Amy, had a piano. She didn't play in pubs, but she was like a pub-style Mrs. Mills pianist kind of thing. So, and I used to tinker around on the piano. I didn't get very far. And I'm about as good at playing Blueberry Hill on it now as I used to be like when I was about 40. But yeah, so there's music going around, but what got me going was all the pirate radio stations that came through in the sort of 63, something like that, and Radio Luxembourg and Ready Steady Go, and all the bands that came with it. That's what kind of I wanted to do, really.
Yeah, cool. What about at school? Were you an academic at school, or were you sporty, or was it just music? Was everything
a little bit of everything? But we used to I went to a reasonable grammar school. Nothing to do with me. That's when my dad made me go. You don't have much say in these things.
Yeah, true.
So much bloody homework, and I used to end up all the subjects I really like history and kind of English literature and all that. All the teachers were soft touches, and all the ones I didn't like maths and science, although I see the value of it, the teachers weren't soft touches. So we had so much bloody homework that if you wanted to learn the guitar, somebody had to give. So you ended up doing the homework for the teachers you was more frightened of, which was all the science subjects, and the ones so I had to do them when I got a bit older.
Yeah.
Whereas I'd rather have been, a professor at Cambridge or something like that. No, we're going to talk about the finer points of Ovid. Well, I don't think so. But learning the guitar with all that at the same time, I think playing the guitar's coming a bit more handy.
Yeah. What age did you pick up your first guitar?
I had a guitar when I was 10 for Christmas, but I didn't get very far on it. And that guitar, actually, my mum and dad bought it for me for Christmas. Is actually in the Hard Rock, in the vault, in the Hard Rock Cafe in Piccadilly.
Is it?
There's a vault, and it's fantastic. I took my kids down there. I didn't know it was there. It ended up there somehow. I got rid of it years ago. Somebody probably made a lot of money out of it. But it's an old bank vault, and they've got a safe, but the doors look like it's blown off. And round it, they've got Jimmy Page's, I think it's his Flying V. They got one of Les Paul's early Les Pauls. They got Entwistle's bass, all around, ranged around the safe. It's got what an old acoustic guitar.
That's unbelievable. And you didn't even know it was there?
I didn't even know
it was there.
What a surprise. Somebody else said something, I went down there. But the girl who was taking us round, I was taking my kids round when I was younger, she said it actually gets more attention because the young kids can identify a bit.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, excellent. So were you in bands when you were in school, or was it just learning to play
guitar? I had a bit of a jam with a couple of mates, but didn't really get very far.
So the first real band then was the Pistols?
Sex Pistols.
Yeah.
Basically, he was learning to play properly.
Yeah. I don't want to talk too much about the Pistols because it's been documented a million times. So let's kind of gloss over the Pistols and go on to the Rich Kids.
Oh, all right, okay.
Anybody can find anything that you want to talk about the Pistols. We'll come on.
People have heard it, actually. There's only so much you can say about it.
Yeah, exactly. So how did you get together with Rusty, Midge and Steve to form the Rich Kids?
When I left the Pistols, Steve knew had actually tried out for the Pistols when we was going to have a second guitarist, but he wouldn't get his hair cut, and it was a bit of a smoke screen by Paul Cooks who'd buy a bit of time so he could finish his electrical apprenticeship at Watney's Brewery.
Yeah.
That's what was going on there. Anyway, I got on with Steve, and when it was announced I wasn't in a band anymore, he came looking for me in this pub down the King's Road where we used to hang out, called the Roebuck. But I hadn't been in there for 2 years, and I happened to go in there that night, and Steve knew was in there.
Right.
So I went, all right, I'm forming a band, you're in. And then I went to see a band, I think...
Because you knew how good a guitarist he was.
I knew he was good, and I knew we'd kind of clicked.
Audition, yeah.
And then also, around about the same time, I went to see, I think it was Rock Pile at the Nashville, and this bloke came up to me and kept on telling me what a good drummer he was and how he'd auditioned for the Clash, but they kept having him back, they was mucking him around. I went, all right, you'll do. He said no, and he kept trying to talk himself. I said, no, you got the job. And he's going, no, but. Anyway, that was Rusty. I thought if he was no good, I could sack him. But what was funny, though, was that Steve and Rusty knew each other because Steve had taken over Rusty's job at WA Music as a messenger boy. Right. So it was this kind of little synchronicity. Circle, yeah. And then we tried out every singer in London. Just couldn't find who I wanted. And then I'd sort of had a very slight dealing with Midge a couple of years before, and he was possibly up for trying out the Pistols before John was involved, but he didn't want to do it because he was going to do this thing called Slick. Looks like it's going to be big, and I had a number one record.
That's one thing I'd never heard before, that Midge was considered to join the Pistols.
Well, he'd done Malcolm and Bernie Rhodes had seen him somewhere, and he was about one of the only people with a quiff back then. You know, everybody, including the milkman and the bank manager, had long hair. You know,
right.
flares. Midge didn't. Anyway,
like I say, it was in Slick.
Yeah, but Slick had been and gone by that time.
Yeah.
I thought, I wonder what he's doing. So we called him up, and he came down. And it was immediately, I thought, ooh, he's got a very distinctive voice, knew what he was doing, gave him a bit of a chance to kind of rock out a bit more than he'd been used to. And it would also put the cat amongst the pigeons with a sort of punk player on. So he did all of that.
Yeah. I mean, I thought the Rich Kids were a great band, but you didn't last that long, did you?
Well, then Midge and Rusty wanted to become New Romantics, and in fact they started it as a side project with Steve Strange, who I knew. Who I met in Wales, actually. He came to see the Pistols. And he just kept on my floor for a little bit, and then they did that. So I felt they'd sort of stabbed me in the back a little bit.
Right.
But it's a long time ago now, it don't matter.
Yeah, because you burnt your bridges with the reunions in 2016 and 2019.
We mended our bridges.
You mended your bridges, sorry. You burnt your bridges at all.
So and I think we, I remember doing gigs, and there'd be, years later, and that's quite a long while ago now, but I played with the Faces.
Yeah.
Steve New died, and Gary Kemp stood in for him, and while we was rehearsing, he came up to me and he said, "You know what, Glenn?" He said, "Me doing this must have been what it was like for you playing with the Faces, because we were big Rich Kids fans."
Yeah.
And then he was in the band. Yeah, I only did like a one-off thing. But
so
I think bands are like a kind of like a relay race. You're handing on this baton. Kind of.
How did you know Gary Kemp to get in the Rich Kids?
I'd see him. I live in London. You see people around.
He's a very talented guy, isn't he, Gary?
But Midge knew him. Midge knew him more, so he asked him.
Right.
But there you go. But what was I going to say? But anyway, when the Rich Kids started, we played Barbara Rose, and after Duran Duran would be in the front row. I think they tried to poach Steve New as a guitarist at one stage. Before they was up and running.
Yeah.
And the same thing with Smyrna Ballad. So I think there was a bit of a bridgehead between punk and the New Romantic thing. So what good that's worth. But
yeah, absolutely. As you say, you played with the Faces, which was Ronnie Wood, Ian McLagan,
Kenny Jones,
and you had Mick Hucknall.
Yeah, Mick Hucknall,
local singer,
boy. Yeah,
obviously from Manchester. That show, the first show at the Lesser Free Trade Hall, it's gone down in folklore.
Well, Joe, you want to hear a funny story? I used to go to art school, and I'm sort of an alumna of St Martin's School of Art, and I get invited to do's and things, and sometimes if it appeals to me, I'll go along. And there was a thing on the cover design, for Factory Records and all that, and there was Kevin Cummins there, Paul Morley and Peter Saville talking. And nobody knew I was there. I was just sitting there watching. And any questions at the end of the thing, and they said, "Who was at the first Sex Pistols show at the Lesser Free Trade Hall?" And the three of them had a conflab on stage, and the only person they could agree on, because he went to everything, was Mick Hucknall. Yeah. And it was the same time we just started rehearsing with the Faces. So it was funny.
So Mick was definitely there.
That's what they said.
Did you talk to him about it when you were with the Faces?
A little bit. But I like Mick, it's great, No, I was thinking of a story, but it's quite a long, convoluted. I won't tell you. I'll tell you another time.
Okay.
Next time.
When we've got longer.
Yeah. But I like Mick, it was a drag Rod Stewart didn't do it, but that's that. But they was always a great rock band with a great soul singer. And Mick, I don't know whatever people think about him, I like him. He's a great soul singer,
Absolutely.
So it was still a great rock band with a great soul singer.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Rod Stewart wasn't that keen on doing it, if he wasn't doing it.
Mm-hmm.
But they turned around and said, "Well, Rod, you wanted it to be pictures Rod Stewart as the Faces. You're Rod Stewart, we're the Faces, so we couldn't really argue about it."
Yeah, you couldn't argue with that at all, could you?
I'll tell you one funny thing, though. When we was rehearsing, we went to see Bobby Womack play. He was doing a residency at the Jazz Cafe in Camden. And Ronnie Wood brought Rod Stewart down. They'd been out to dinner, and then we all sort of met. And Rod Stewart shouts across the room, he's going, Hucknall, you've nicked my job, as a joke. Anyway, Bobby Womack came out on stage, tiny little stage, loads of people on the stage. Now, there's Mick Hucknall, who must be a good millionaire a few times over. And Rod Stewart, who's a multi-millionaire, either side of me, and I'm in the middle, and they're both a little bit taller than me. And I think I said, God blimey, how many people on stage? We had a count up, there was like 12. And Rod Stewart said to Mick Hucknall over my head, he'll never make any money. And I thought, well, that's the lead singers for it.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a point, though.
That's how it works.
Saying that, David Bowie, I mean, you're playing with Earl Slick on this tour. David Bowie always had a huge amount of musicians playing with him.
Yeah, but you won't play in the Jazz Cafe in Camden.
Yeah, that's true. That's very
That's
true.
the difference. You got to cut your suit to suit your cloth.
Yeah. Let's go on to the 1996 Filthy Lucre tour.
Yeah. I can't remember, it was all a blur.
Yeah, I can imagine. But did you realise how big the brand was, the Sex Pistols brand, before you guys got that together?
I think we did.
Yeah.
Because in the intervening years, whatever you try and do individually, and I think that goes for all of us in the band, it's always measured against the Pistols. We get to travel around the world, it's always measured. People go on about it all the time so much, we thought we'll give it to them,
Yeah, and it works well.
It worked well, yeah.
Yeah, and even 23 years down the line. Saying that, you went on to 2008, didn't you?
We did
doing the
some
odd
odds,
tour.
when the money was right.
Yeah.
But, regardless of our relationships, which is sort of, it's a bit like Coronation Street, really, some of it, but most bands are. But we got something in common that only 4 people in the world have, is that when we go in a room and plug in with the Sex Pistols.
Yeah.
So I think that's something. Well, back then it was something to be celebrated and to be rewarded handsomely for.
And it's still to be celebrated today.
Maybe.
Yeah, it is, definitely.
But don't hold your breath, But I'm happy with what I'm doing now. I've got a great band. I'm kind of getting a following for what I'm doing, Yeah, I'm not playing the Manchester Evening News Arena and stuff.
But the Rebellion bar's just as good. It's too big, the arena, anyway.
Well, I don't know, I think I'll make it seem like this place. But great band, Earl Slick and my band, Jim Lowe, Chris Musto. Got a good record out, I've had nothing but good reviews for it.
Yeah.
Damn,
well,
let's go. I've done a lot of stuff with lots of different singers. I've written many songs over the years, and I don't think anybody's going to mean a song as much as the bloke what writ it. And also, when I was doing the Faces thing, I asked Kenny Jones, what happened with Ronnie Lane? He was kind of like one of my, not heroes, but somebody I kind of respected, because he was sort of different within the Small Faces and the Faces.
Yeah.
And he said, well, think about it. He wrote all these fantastic songs, The Poacher and Debris and loads of stuff. And every night he went out on stage with Rod Stewart singing, he knew damn well he'd never have a chance to sing one of the songs he'd written. So that's why he walked.
One of my favourite songs, though, is a Ronnie Lane song that the Faces never recorded, which is How Come.
Yeah, well, How Come, there you go.
Song. Love that song.
How Come, I like, don't try and change my mind, which is fantastic. In fact, we was running through it the other night just for a laugh at the sound check. And I like Kushti Rai, that's great. They're all kind of clever little things going on there. And the lyrics are very heartfelt and... Yeah.
He's an underrated writer.
Not by me.
No, in general.
And look at Humble Pie, who I thought were great, but they were a great live band, but they didn't have the songs. So who wrote the songs in the Small Faces?
Yeah. Exactly.
But who wrote what is always a big, long story, isn't it?
As I say, let's go on to your new album.
Good man.
You've come full circle, because you had Chris Spedding play guitar on the album, didn't you?
Yeah, he plays on a track as a guest appearance.
Just one track.
It was basically, we recorded the bulk of the album in America, and I'd liked most of it, and a couple of songs I thought were good, but didn't kind of make it a whole as an album. And I was writing a few more things, so I put a couple more things down in England. And the last track on the album, Keep On Pushing, me and Slim Jim, he was in England, he put the rhythm track down, and I was listening back the next day, I thought I need something. I was fiddling around and I came up with a riff. And it's not the same as, but it was the kind of thing like The Price of Love by the Everly Brothers. So I tapped it into my computer, Price of Love, and before I could write Everly Brothers, it came up with Chris
Spedding?
No.
It was
Brian Ferry doing it, because it was he did it, he covered it, but he was playing guitar with him, Chris Spedding. But what are you doing tomorrow? Not a lot really, why? That's why I got this track, it sounds a bit like Price of Love, will you come down? He went, alright then. And I said, how much you want for it? And he said, well, you played bass on a track of my album for nothing, so let's call it quits.
Cool.
So there you go. But I've kept in touch with Chris over the years.
Yeah.
We did a show, Earl wasn't available, and Neil X is going to get up with us tonight. He plays on a couple of tracks on the album. And they were all doing different things. It's a bit awkward with Earl sometimes because he lives in America. So I was Spedding, and we come and did the Opera House in Dubai.
Very nice.
So,
Yeah, not a bad life. So how did Earl come back to play on the album and do this tour with you? Do you know him through Slim Jim?
No, I'd met him before. Yeah, through Slim Jim, but I'd met him before. I got involved with a little project, just nothing really happened. And most musicians' lives are peppered with having a go at doing something and then it don't quite work out. But I met him, we got on well. And then I asked Slim Jim to play on the album, and I said, I don't want it to be like punk, something slightly different, sort of based on my acoustic shows that I've been doing. And I also been to see Bob Dylan at the Albert Hall not long before then. And while I can appreciate and understand his value as a fantastic songwriter, can't understand, we can't recognise the melodies, you can't make out what he's singing word-wise, and he looks so awkward. He does 200 shows a year and don't want to be there. And I thought, But, so I concentrated on what the band were doing, and the band he had was fantastic. Charlie Sexton on guitar, who's mates with Earl, Tony Garnier, who's great. I saw him play with Spedding and Robert Gordon, who I'd done some work with. One of the best shows I've ever seen at the Town and Country Club in London, maybe 20 years ago now. And this drummer who played most of the stuff on brushes, and I thought, maybe I can get a bit of that going with these songs I've been writing. So I asked Slim Jim, because he's only got half a drum kit, would you be up for doing some stuff? And he said, yeah, I'd love to. I said, any ideas for guitarist? And he said, about Slick. And I didn't know he knew him.
Right.
And they'd had a band together in the 80s, which I knew nothing about. So it just all fell into place. And then Al suggested as an engineer to get Mario McNulty, who'd he'd worked with on Bowie's last album. So it's not a bad little pedigree in that.
Not at all. No. Obviously Slim Jim couldn't do this tour with you because...
Well, he's busy. I didn't even ask him because he's busy.
Because of the Stray Cats, they just released an album and they're back touring again, so he'll be busy with that.
Yeah, but I'm happy playing with Mr. Musto. He plays tracks. He plays on the first two songs on the album, and we've been mates for years. And he also designed a cover, so he comes in handy as well. He's my mate.
Yeah, excellent. And before we finish, we'd just like to talk about what I think is your greatest ever achievement.
What's that?
You won Pointless Celebrities.
Oh, yeah. Well, I didn't do too bad, but Slim Jim, I think he helped with...
He did really well. I've never met anybody before that has a coveted Pointless trophy as Alexander Arnold.
It's on my sideboard.
Alexander Armstrong calls it.
Yeah.
So was it a good experience?
It was a laugh,
Yeah.
It's just silly. But the thing was, we actually did it about a year before they broadcast it. And
really?
If you see the programme again, Slim Jim's talking about being on tour with supporting the Damned with his rockabilly trio, and he'd already done it. He was open to do it because he can plug the shows, and it's funny how these things work.
I know.
It's just a laugh,
So what do you do from here? Because you've only got 2 dates left of this tour.
I've got 2 more dates. We're doing Camden Rocks tomorrow. I was just talking to Chris McCormick, who's in the Professionals, who actually puts on Camden Rocks. And I said, what are you doing? He said, I'm just rehearsing with Frank Turner. I said, what are you doing with him? He said, I'm getting up and doing Pretty Vacant, right? I said,
is that Chris McCormick who was in Three Colours Red?
Yeah.
I interviewed Danny, his brother, last week.
Right.
Yeah.
Peg-leg. I like Danny.
Yeah. Lovely guy, Danny. Sorry, I interrupted you then.
Yeah, no, well, Chris plays on my album I did for Creation. I got him signed at Creation. Anyway, so he's getting up with Frank Turner. I said, what are you doing? He said, Pretty Vacant. I said, well, you should be asking me. And he said, do you know what we was going to? But you're playing exactly the same time as Frank Turner.
No, what a shame.
Well...
Is it going to happen, though?
Well, it was going to be interesting because my younger son's coming to the gig and he's a big Frank Turner fan, but I've got him his ticket, so we'll have to see what's going to happen.
Oh, that'd be great. That'd be amazing. Great artist, Frank Turner.
I've never seen him. I've heard of him. I know he used to wear a flowery suit, which to me reminded me of who's that comedian in the 40s and 50s? The blue comedian.
I have no idea. In the 40s and 50s.
Very famous. I forgot his name.
It'll come to us.
He sang "I Fell in Love with Mary from the Dairy," and he got sacked from the BBC. He was like a multi-millionaire, biggest entertainer.
Yes. Now you said that, it's
Max Miller.
Yeah.
Max Miller. He got sacked for telling a joke about how he was mountaineering, and there was a very narrow pass. And as he was trying to inch past this beautiful naked woman came the other way. And he said, well, I didn't know whether to come inside or toss myself out. And he said, well, it's not rude, it's all in people's minds. But he got... Anyway, so he wore a flowery suit that I saw Frank Turner in. So I don't know if we've seen that. But then also they did on the Fast Show, didn't he? When he does the old-time comedian.
Yeah. Tommy Cockles.
No, not Tommy Cockles. There's one that the other bloke.
Oh, the one that Paul Whitehouse does.
Yeah.
No,
with a lot of white acts. It's supposed to be Max Miller, really. But I like Max Miller.
Yeah. So after these couple of dates, what have you got?
I'm going to America on Wednesday.
Oh right.
I've got 3 solo shows over there.
With the same band?
No, these are just solo shows. They're like
yeah.
evenings with Glen Matlock kind of thing. One in New York, one in Los Angeles, and one in Orange County. Bunch of business meetings. Then I've been writing towards the follow-up to
Excellent.
Good to Go, so I'm going to spend a bit of time doing that and thinking how about I can go and record it with these guys, hopefully. And then we're going to Japan, doing a Fuji festival in Japan, and some club dates there, and then sort of booking stuff for the... They're busy.
Yeah, very busy. Excellent.
Busy
really
boys.
pleased. Really pleased. Is the new album or the next album going to be along the same lines, or is it going to be in a different direction?
I don't know, see how it comes out. I quite like this direction, actually.
Yeah.
People seem to like
Absolutely.
it. So.
Yeah, people do like it. I like it.
Oh.
Yeah.
I like it because it's, I'm 62, I'm going to be 63 by the time the new record comes out. Do people really need some bloke pretending he's still in the Sex Pistols at that age? I don't think so.
Yeah, just a labour of love. And see people like it themselves.
Not labour of love, but I'm a few bob out of it. There's some good songs in it. I need that little bit away from getting one on heavy rotation on the radio.
Yeah.
But then everybody thinks that, but that's what inspires you to keep you going.
Yeah. Well, good luck with the touring. Good luck with going all over the world, because that's basically where you're going.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, this year I've been. I don't know, I can't quite remember. Went to Korea last year, played on the demilitarised zone, right on the border. I was in Palestine a month ago doing the thing. I was in South America at the beginning of the year, playing with some people on over there.
Do you ever turn anywhere down? I mean, like
I don't
play North Korea.
things.
You turn that down.
Well, that was pretty interesting,
Yeah.
No, I jumped at doing that. I was a bit reticent. Didn't know what I was going to find, but I made some good friends out there.
Yeah, excellent. Well, on that note, Glenn, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Cheers.
Ain't gonna be no mother. Ain't gonna see no mother. Get your brother breaks on me. The 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 breaks on me. Kiss you see.
Thank you once again to Glenn for spending some time with me on a Friday afternoon after a very, very long drive up halfway up the country. Now on to part two. As I said earlier on, Earl Slick has been a sideman for many different artists, but to me, he's a living legend, and it was a pleasure talking to both Glenn and to Earl. So here's part two. Earl, thank you very much for taking your time to talk to me on my podcast.
Thank you.
It's an absolute pleasure to meet you, and it's a pleasure to have a chat with you, so thank you very much. What we're going to do is go right back to the start, when you were younger, when you were growing up, your influences.
You've got that much time?
No, we haven't, but we're going to fly through it if that's okay. You were born in Brooklyn.
Brooklyn kid,
in 1952?
51.
Yeah, 51.
You've been reading Wikipedia.
I have been reading Wikipedia.
I tried to change it to 51. They're giving me an extra year, like it really matters, you know.
Yeah, so you're younger than into Wikipedia.
Whoop-de-doo.
So did you grow up in Brooklyn as well? You didn't move around?
Yeah, I grew up in Brooklyn, and then my father was a cop, moved the whole family to Staten Island, which is one of the 5 boroughs, but it was they called it the Lost Borough because you couldn't get to it from anywhere else in New York City, even though it's part of New York City, except by boat, until they built the Verrazano Bridge.
Yeah.
So all the cops, which he was, all bought houses there before the bridge was finished because they couldn't afford to buy them in Brooklyn on their salary.
Okay.
So all of a sudden they end up in the middle of the woods because that's what it was like. And from Brooklyn.
Excellent.
A little culture shock.
Did you grow up in a musical household? Was there, like, were your parents into music, or any siblings?
Nobody played anything, but
was there music always on?
Yeah. My father, even though I didn't see a lot of him because of his hours and stuff, I mean, he was a big band. Well, it was his era. He was a World War II vet. So all the, Glenn Matlock and all the big band stuff was his thing. And my mother, she liked country music. Go figure.
A New Yorker.
An Italian girl from New York, Brooklyn, country music. So I heard a lot of that, and a lot of radio got played, so even my grandmother would listen to, like, the pop station, so I'd hear everything from Bobby Darin to Chuck Berry and whatever. So, they played music, they listened to music, but nobody actually, picked up an instrument.
What can you remember as being your first musical influence? What struck you to think,
what got my attention? I never thought about playing per se, even though I did listen to music. It was when the Beatles hit the U.S. and that whole frenzy started with the British invasion that it got my attention.
So you'd have been around 12 at the time,
about 12ish, and it was something that we'd never seen before. I was not old enough to have appreciated or seen Elvis on TV when he really hit the TV. And then he went in the Army, and in his absence, there was this really weird lull. And then when the Beatles came by, Elvis had been kind of out of the picture for a while. So the window was open, and the timing was right. And when they played the first time on Ed Sullivan Show, the whole country went on its ear. And the next day, everybody, what little hair we had, we were pushing down, and trying to make bangs out of it. And we really got bitten by the thing, because it was exciting. From one TV show, the next day, everybody in the school was Beatle crazy in one day. And so I didn't get interested in playing right away, but I started buying their records. Then when the Stones came on at Sullivan, that was the end of it. That was it. The end and the beginning. Yeah. Because I said, now I'm getting a fucking guitar. Yeah. I want to be those guys. I want to be that. And that was the day that I knew that I'd be doing this.
I got goosebumps then.
Yeah. One look at the Stones, that was it.
Excellent.
They were
obviously
guttural.
Keith Richards,
they were Keith, all of them, and it was guttural. You didn't hear black music on the radio.
Right.
Very little. You heard some. I mean, you heard the pop. You heard Nat King Cole and whatnot, You didn't hear Delta Blues on the radio. You heard Chuck Berry. You heard Little Richard. You didn't hear Willie Dixon. You didn't hear Muddy Waters. You didn't hear none of that stuff. Yeah. They called them race records, man. Literally. And the Stones were responsible for actually bringing that black music back to us.
They covered quite a few of
Hell yeah, they did. The first 2 albums were all covers. I don't know how I figured it out, but I did. And I just went out and after my second Stones record, I put 2 and 2 together and I started buying all those records. I was buying like...
Were they easy to get hold of?
They were really easy to find. They were out. Yeah, they were there. Yeah. And I bought them all. And I learned how to play guitar by listening to those records.
So you've never had any tuition? You just self-taught?
Oh, I tried. I went. My mother knew I wanted to play, so she got me. There was a place that gave guitar lessons, some music shop, and the guy was a fucking dork. You know, it was like a teacher. I hated school. Yeah. I failed at school. I sucked at school. I was a very uncooperative little shit in school, and I have some guy showing me a piece. I had to learn music, and he's showing me these dumbass I'm going, I don't want to play that. We have to learn this first. It's my ass, I do. And after 2 lessons, I quit. And then I just started listening to the records and picking it up with my ears. Yeah. And then really quickly, I could play.
So it was natural to you?
Very.
Yeah, excellent.
I can't read anything. I never could.
You still can't read music
now?
No,
if you even put a chord chart in front of me, I get cross-eyed.
Apparently Paul McCartney can't read.
No,
can't read
I mean, none of them could.
Yeah.
No, why?
Well, yeah, exactly.
If I was going to be in the classical orchestra, it's another ball game, but that's not what I do.
Yeah, it's not rock and roll. Can you remember the first guitar that you ever bought? How old were you when you bought the first guitar? It
was 1964 in the summer. So the Beatles were February 1964. So it took me about 6 months to beat one out of my old man because he couldn't listen to me bitch about it anymore.
Was it acoustic or?
It was a Dan Electro. But it was a Dan Electro that was acoustic. It looked just like the regular ones you see all the time, but it was hollow body, and it's really weird. I mean, I wish I could find another one. I mean, I traded that one in to go a step up,
Yeah.
But you could buy a kit down the line that you could actually snap a pickup into it, which I never did.
Right. And with that guitar, did that? Excuse me. Did that take you to your first band, or did you just learn on that guitar?
I didn't really, because I needed to be able to plug in and stuff,
Yeah.
But within 2 months of getting that, I saved some money, and then traded that one in, and then I got electric, which was a Hagstrom.
And how did you go about finding the first guys to be in your first band?
It was just guys in school that everybody played.
Usual, yeah.
Everybody played something. So it was just a matter of some of my buddies that was my friends, and we got together. We had a sax player, we had a drummer. So his drum kit consisted of a snare drum.
Right.
That's it. And me and another guitar player, but we had no bass player, so I had the other guitar player just play the bottom 4 strings of his guitar, and we both plugged into my little amp. Excellent. And we, because we were all terrified to sing, we would just do instrumental, 5-bar, 12-bar blues and a couple of Ventures things,
Yeah.
And we would play in people's little weekend basement teenage parties, Yeah.
Excellent. Can you remember the first show that you went to? You say you remember the first music that you heard. What was the first show that you went to?
The first shows I went to were the local bands of the guys who were a few years older than me.
Yeah. Did they have an influence on you?
Yeah, because a lot of them were pretty good.
Yeah.
You got to think, 13 years old to 15 years old, it's a huge difference in a kid. So these guys were playing before me, and they had 2 years on me, so they could play. So I watched them, and I thought, okay, what are they doing? So I I'd go to their gigs, high school dances and that kind of stuff,
You started to get a name for yourself around the New York area.
Oh, yeah.
But you weren't Earl Slick at the time, were you?
I wasn't Earl Slick until around 1969, maybe.
And how did you get the name?
It was a singer named Jack O'Neill, a.k.a. Bojack. We had a great band. And we were doing, we wrote a lot of songs, actually, because we had a publishing contract when I was 17.
Right.
With a big publishing company. And we were doing clubs, and 5 nights a week, playing from 9 to 4 a.m.
Wow.
45 minutes on, 15 minutes off. And
continuously until 4 a.m.?
Yes.
Wow.
5 nights a week.
That's hard work.
Hey, man, tell you what, that's how you learn.
Yeah.
And he was a funny guy, because he was from down south. And after a while, you get kind of like bored, so you do stupid shit. And every night he would start introducing us with these fictitious, stupid names, or some goofy name like some weird senator from Florida called Claude Pepper. All kinds of stuff. And somehow I ended up Earl Slick after he went through a bunch of different names, and everybody started calling me that.
And that name just stuck.
Yeah, and then 1970 or so, I met some guys that had a real record contract on what was it, Capitol?
Yeah.
And where I actually played on the record, and they asked about credits, and I said, put Earl Slick on there. So from that point on, it was official.
Right, cool. Excellent. So did you then start getting a name for yourself around New York as Earl Slick?
Yes, yeah. That's how it happened, And I had a number of different bands, maybe 2 or 3 bands that were doing quite well. We played a lot. We played all the time. We did a lot of recording. We wrote music. We did everything. And we were, by that point, we were pretty seasoned. Had a lot of hours in. So by the time Michael Kamen, who was, he was an American. He had a rock band that actually had a contract and went out and did real gigs, and he took me under his wing. Long story short, he had met Bowie. He had a rock band, but he was a Juilliard graduate,
right?
School of Music. He was classically trained, and he wrote music for the Joffrey Ballet. And this is just how shit happens. David wanted to meet the guy who wrote the music. He met Michael, and then during the conversation, he asked Michael if he knew any young guys around the area because he needed a guitar player because his guy, Mick Ronson, just left. Michael gave him my name.
So did you have to audition?
Yes, I did,
yeah.
Which was the most Twilight Zone. I thought I was going to go be sitting there with a band and everything. I was called up to RCA Studios and just walked in an empty room because they called me the night before and asked, what kind of amp would you like? I said, give me a Marshall, whatever, and I brought my SG with me. And David's assistant at the time walked me into the room, and I hear a thing on the intercom, American voice. Oh, put your headphones on. Huh? Yeah. And I said, well, what are we doing? He says, well, we're just going to play the track. And I've got you mic'd up and everything, so just play along. Okay. Well, key is it. Don't worry about it. So what I didn't realize at the time, I was playing to that while they were mixing Diamond Dogs. I was just playing along with that.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Did Mick Ronson play on Diamond Dogs?
No.
It was
David.
David did the guitar.
There was a few of a few of the guys in there, but David did the bulk of that.
Yeah. So Mick Ronson had left before Diamond Dogs was recorded. I mean, huge shoes to fill, Mick Ronson's.
Yeah.
Did you feel the pressure?
At the time, the only pressure I felt, there was 2 areas it was coming from. The first area is that I could mimic somebody, but I couldn't copy anything note for note. I still can't do it. I don't know how. And the other one was that was I expected to verbatim do mixed parts for the records.
Right.
And number 2, what was going to happen to me when we did the first gig was the press and the fans going to just, cannibalize my ass.
Yeah.
And they didn't. And as far as playing Mick verbatim, David said, no, I hired you because I like the way you play, so do what you do.
Excellent. You played on David Live,
yeah,
which was your first album.
That's right, yeah.
Excuse me again. Then you recorded Young Americans. Carlos Alomar was also on Young Americans.
That's right.
Young Americans, but there's a very funky sound to the Young Americans album. Was it yourself or was it Carlos that brought that funk?
You know what?
To Young Americans.
Well, people don't realize that there was a point in New York that the only way to get a gig was to play Otis Redding, Sam and Dave, James Brown, all that. So I knew I had that stuff inside out. But Carlos came from a different part of the R&B world. He came from the pop R&B part, the OJs and that kind of stuff, which was completely different. Yeah. That was more the direction David was going in. So that is more of a Carlos album than a Slick album, by far. And he did a great job. Because my influences would be more of the Memphis, coming from the Steve Cropper area of R&B.
Yeah.
Where his was a different... R&B was broken down into different areas,
Yeah.
So that was more his thing. So,
But then on Station to Station, is that where you came to the fore?
Yeah, well, on Station, I mean, Carlos is only on 4 of the songs anyway.
Yeah.
But you can hear the difference.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think every song we're panned the same. I think I'm on the left and he's on the right or whatever, but we're separated on all this. It's not brain surgery to figure out who did what. Yeah.
And then you had a bit of a break from playing with David.
Yeah.
Until, was it Heathen the next time you played it in 2002? It was Heathen and then Reality, I think, was it? The studio album.
Studio albums, yeah, because we came in and we did Glastonbury and we did Toy, and then when he was doing Heathen, I was in Japan, so I only played in a couple of tracks on Heathen.
Right.
I was in Japan for 3 months with another artist, with a big Japanese artist, and then we toured the Heathen, and then Reality, yeah.
Well, they are completely different albums.
Completely.
To Station and Young American.
Yeah.
They couldn't be
and Reality
further
was
apart.
more up my alley than Heathen would have been anyway, And then the last one, the last studio album was the next day.
Yeah.
Because I won't really count Lazarus because that was a completely different band for a reason, because it was done music for the play,
Yeah.
Got 15 minutes to on stage, so...
Okay,
Yeah.
we'll be
Yeah.
as quick as we can now. Just quickly going back then, you mentioned Glastonbury. You headlined Glastonbury with David Bowie. That's an amazing feat. So how was it for you personally?
A gig.
Yeah, it was just a gig.
It was a gig with a lot of people and a lot of mud. But I did get to see Willie Nelson because he played on the same
He was on the
stages.
same,
And I remember more of that than anything else.
Right.
Standing up in this light tower above the stage.
Yeah.
Watching Willie from up there and this huge cloud of weed wafting up his whole show.
I've never been to Glastonbury. It's very hard to get tickets, but I watch it on television all the time. And that performance, David's performance at Glastonbury, is one of the best I've ever seen. Absolutely amazing. All of you, every musician that was on that stage. I haven't even seen any of it. Have you not?
No.
You should watch it back.
Yeah, I want to get around
so
to it.
good. It's so good. It's all on YouTube. The whole show's on YouTube.
Yeah.
About 6 years ago, I think it was, you were talking about writing a book.
Yep.
So what's happening? Is it still being written?
Oh, it's almost done.
Yeah.
And it's already signed.
Excellent.
And I'm not at liberty to say who, why, what, or when.
Okay.
But it's coming out great.
It's almost ready.
Mm-hmm. Well, the original thing was that book turned into a film. So I'm writing a different book.
Oh, right.
It turned into...
So it was Diary of a Sideman.
That's right. That was the book.
Right, okay.
But Francis Whately, who is one of the BBC's best, if not their best documentary maker...
Documentary with Bernard and Wendy and Lisa.
Exactly.
Yeah,
yes.
okay.
That is my book.
Yeah.
In film form.
I love that
Because
documentary.
it was weird.
Yeah.
Because he said, that's not a book, it's a film. So we did the film, so the book is different.
Right, okay. So
I'm getting to go someplace else with the book, which is really cool.
Excellent. And it won't be long
I'm not just
before
going to take the film and make a book out of it.
Yeah.
No, we've already done the film, so I'm doing it,
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, quickly, we haven't got long left.
Yeah.
Let's quickly go on to John Lennon. You recorded the Double Fantasy album and the Milk and Honey album. What I want to know is, a couple of months after John's death, you recorded, let me just remember the name of the title, Season of Glass with Yoko. How was it being in the studio again, only a couple of months after John's death, with his wife, with the musicians that recorded Double Fantasy with you, and you're all back in the studio again? How did that feel?
It was a bit odd, because of the situation, right? And the worst part of it really was that fucking lunatic that's in jail now.
Chapman. Oh.
No, the asshole that did all the hit records in the early 60s.
Oh, right. Phil Spector.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had to deal with him for about 10 days, and finally Yoko got rid of him, and we moved on.
Okay.
But it was, the guys were all there. What was good about it is we were able to get everybody involved except Jack Douglas, who couldn't make it to the sessions, and I think it was a good way for all of us to get together to kind of like, you know, put it to bed. Let's say first, you know what I mean? Get together, and it was our way of kind of like, you know, doing a service or something, you know. Yeah. And that was my.
I know, Earl, I could talk to you all night, but you're on stage now, so thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much.